The executive and the unseen truth. Before we plunge into this truly emotional story, hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments, what's the most life-altering secret you've ever uncovered? Sebastian Thorne? The voice made him spin around instantly. Sebastian's camera-ready smile vanished, his face freezing. There she was, Eleanor, unmistakable, a baby in her arms, looking at him as if he were a ghost. Eleanor, he murmured, feeling the world grind to a halt. The grand opening of the new pediatric wing at St. Thomas's Hospital continued around them. Politicians, doctors, and journalists filled the gleaming corridor, but Sebastian heard nothing. He only saw his ex-wife, thinner than before, with dark circles under her eyes, and a baby no more than 3 months old. "We need to talk," Eleanor said, approaching with determined steps. "What are you doing here?" Sebastian looked at the baby, a cold dread settling in his stomach. "Whose is he?" Eleanor looked him straight in the eyes, unblinking, unwavering. "He's yours." The words landed like a blow. Sebastian staggered back, bumping into a passing nurse. "That's impossible," he whispered. "You can't. The doctors said—" "The doctors were wrong." Eleanor adjusted the baby in her arms. "His name is Benjamin. He's 2 months old." Sebastian did the quick maths. 2 months. That meant Eleanor had been pregnant during their divorce, during the bitter arguments, through all that hell they'd endured before separating. "Why didn't you tell me?" "When? When you screamed you never wanted to see me again? Or when you changed your phone number?" A persistent journalist approached with a camera, but Sebastian waved him away sharply. "Not here," he said, taking Eleanor by the arm. "Let's go outside." They exited the hospital in silence. Sebastian walked like a robot, not knowing what to do with his hands, what to say, how to breathe with. Eleanor followed him to a small park opposite the building. "Are you sure?" Sebastian asked, staring at the peacefully sleeping baby. "I had a DNA test," Eleanor said, pulling an envelope from her bag. 3 times. Sebastian snatched the papers with trembling hands. The numbers didn't lie. 99.9% probability of paternity. His name, Eleanor's, and Benjamin Thorne Vance. My God. He sank onto a bench. How is this possible? The miracle we longed for arrived just when we were no longer a family. Eleanor sat beside him, gently rocking the baby. Ironic, isn't it? Sebastian remembered the years of fertility treatments, the injections, the shattered hopes month after month, the arguments that began as whispers and ended in screams, the coldness that had built a wall between them. "I tried to find you," Eleanor continued. "I went to your office, but they told me you'd changed. Whoops. I called your sister, but she hung up. I even went to your flat, but you didn't live there anymore. I moved after the divorce," Sebastian murmured, running a hand through his hair. "I couldn't stay in the same place." "I know. That's why I stopped trying." Benjamin stirred in Eleanor's arms and opened his eyes. Sebastian leaned in to see him better and felt a sensation he'd never experienced. The baby had his eyes, his nose, but Eleanor's mouth. "Can I?" He held out his hands. Eleanor hesitated, then handed him the baby. Sebastian received him as if he were made of glass, fearing he might break. "Hello, Benjamin," he whispered, and the baby seemed to recognize his voice, calming instantly. "I'm your dad." The words came out unbidden, and as he said them, Sebastian felt something shatter within his chest, something that had been tightly held for 2 years. "Where do you live now?" he asked, still looking at his son. "With my sister, in a small annex behind her house in Peckham." "And how have you done all this alone?" Eleanor shrugged. "As best I could. I work part-time at a vet clinic. It's not much, but it covers the basics." Sebastian looked up. Eleanor looked exhausted, deeply tired, and he hadn't been there during the pregnancy. the birth, the sleepless nights. Nothing. Eleanor, Don't say anything now. She stood from the bench. I just wanted you to know he exists, that you have a son. And now what? Sebastian also stood, still holding Benjamin. I don't know. Eleanor took the baby back. Honestly, I don't know. They looked at each other in silence. 2 years ago, they had hurled the most painful words at each other. They had bled each other dry. And now they had a child together. I have to go, Eleanor said. Benjamin needs to feed. Sebastian wanted to speak, to stop her, to beg her to stay. But the words wouldn't come. Eleanor, wait! He finally called out as she walked away. Can I see you tomorrow? Him? She paused without turning. Call me, she said, and continued walking. Sebastian was left alone in the park, watching them disappear into the London crowds. His hands trembled. His heart pounded so hard he thought it would burst. He had a son with Eleanor. The son they had desperately tried for during their marriage, who had arrived when they were no longer together. He pulled out his phone and dialed his assistant's number. Cancel all my appointments for the week, he said. I have a family emergency. What would you do if you discovered such a life-changing secret? What's the first step Sebastian should take now? Share your thoughts and advice in the comments below. Sebastian couldn't sleep that night. He stayed awake in his opulent Kensington flat, staring at the ceiling, remembering things he had tried to forget for 2 years. At 6 in the morning, he picked up his phone and dialed the number Eleanor had given him. Hello? Eleanor's voice was weary. It's Sebastian. Can I come and see you? It's 6 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. We need to talk. Eleanor sighed on the other end. All right, but wait for me on the corner of Elm Road and Cherry Lane. I don't want my sister to see you yet. 40 minutes later, Sebastian stood on the designated corner. Eleanor arrived pushing an old pram, Benjamin asleep inside. There's a cafe nearby, Eleanor said, foregoing any greeting. They walked in silence to a small, newly opened cafe. They sat at a back table. Sebastian ordered 2 coffees and stared at Benjamin, still sleeping peacefully. When did you find out you were pregnant? He asked. 3 weeks after we signed the divorce papers. Eleanor stirred sugar into her coffee. At first I thought it was stress. I'd lost a lot of weight, and my period was late. But then I started feeling nauseous. Sebastian remembered those final weeks of their marriage, the constant arguments, the silences that lasted for days, the icy wall that had risen between them. Do you remember our last argument? Eleanor asked. Sebastian nodded. How could I forget? It was the night Eleanor found the divorce papers on his desk. You said you couldn't keep living with a woman who couldn't give you children. Eleanor looked him straight in the eyes. That you no longer saw me as a woman, but as a constant reminder of your failure. Eleanor, No, I'm not finished. She raised a hand. That night you told me you had met someone else, that she was younger and could give you what I couldn't. Sebastian closed his eyes. He had lied. There was no one else. He just wanted to hurt her as much as he felt hurt. It was a lie, he whispered. There was no one else. I know. Eleanor offered a mirthless smile. Your sister told me afterwards, but at the time it hurt so much I wanted to disappear. Benjamin stirred in the pram and began to whimper softly. Eleanor picked him up and began to rock him. When I found out about the pregnancy, my first impulse was to find you, she continued. I was happy. I thought maybe we could try again, that this baby would give us a second chance. What happened? I went to your office. Your secretary told me you had resigned and didn't know where you worked now. Then I went to your flat, but the concierge told me you didn't live there anymore. Sebastian remembered those first few months after the divorce. He had moved to another neighborhood. He had changed jobs. He had erased everything that reminded him of Eleanor. He had even changed his phone number. I called your sister, Eleanor continued, patting Benjamin on the back. I explained the situation. I told her I was pregnant and needed to talk to you. What did she say? That you were very happy in your new life, that you had met someone, and the last thing you wanted was to hear from me. She asked me not to bother you anymore. Sebastian felt a surge of rage. Rage at his sister for lying. Rage at himself for disappearing. Rage at the entire situation. After that, I stopped looking for you. Eleanor looked out the window. I decided I would raise Benjamin alone, that if you didn't want to know anything about me, you also wouldn't want to know anything about him. But yesterday, why did you look for me yesterday? Eleanor looked back at him. Because Benjamin got sick last week. Pneumonia. He was in the hospital for 2 days. When I saw him so small, so fragile, with all those tubes, I thought he was going to die. Her voice broke slightly. That night, while he slept in the hospital cot, I realized that if anything happened to him, you would never know you had a son. And that wasn't fair to either of you. Sebastian reached across the table and touched Eleanor's hand. Eleanor, I never meant to. I know. She didn't pull her hand away. We both said horrible things. We both hurt each other. But this is different. Benjamin is not to blame for our mistakes. Sebastian looked at his son, who was now awake and watching him with curiosity. Can I hold him? Eleanor handed him over without hesitation. Sebastian received him with more confidence than the day before. Hello, little one, he whispered. Daddy's here now. And for the first time in 2 years, Sebastian felt he was exactly where he needed to be. What do you think Sebastian needs to do to truly earn Eleanor's trust back? And what's one piece of advice you'd give to new parents facing unexpected challenges? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. 2 weeks after that first meeting at the cafe, Sebastian had started visiting Eleanor and Benjamin every day. He would arrive after work with nappies, formula, and toys the baby couldn't even use yet. That afternoon, they had gone together to Benjamin's pediatric checkup. Sebastian insisted on accompanying them, even though Eleanor said it wasn't necessary. He's perfectly healthy, the doctor said after examining the baby. He's gained weight well, and his lungs sound clear after the pneumonia. Eleanor smiled with relief. Sebastian also felt calmer. During those 2 weeks, he had read everything he could about babies, infant pneumonia, and parental care. Any questions? The doctor asked. Is it normal for him to cry so much at night? Eleanor asked. Sometimes it takes hours for him to calm down. It could be colic. It's common at this age. Try gently massaging his tummy and... Eleanor suddenly put her hand to her head. Are you all right? Sebastian looked at her, worried. Yes, just... I felt a bit dizzy. Eleanor gripped the arm of the chair. It's hot in here, isn't it? The doctor approached her. When was the last time you ate? Eleanor tried to remember. This morning. No, last night. I think... Eleanor. Sebastian frowned. It's 3 in the afternoon. I've been very busy with Benjamin. Sometimes I forget. She couldn't finish the sentence. She slumped from the chair and fell to the floor. Eleanor! Sebastian rushed to her, but the doctor was already examining her. Call A&E! The doctor shouted to the nurse. Now! Everything happened very quickly. A stretcher. Paramedics. Sebastian, running through the hospital corridors with Benjamin in his arms, following Eleanor, who was unconscious. Are you family? An A&E doctor asked. Sebastian hesitated. I'm his son's father. We need you to sign some papers. We have to operate immediately. Operate? Why? Internal hemorrhage. Likely placental remnants that weren't expelled during childbirth. It's serious. But if we operate now, she'll be fine. Sebastian signed everything they put in front of him. Then he was left alone in the waiting room with Benjamin, who had started crying because he was hungry. Quiet, little one, he whispered, rocking him. Mom's going to be okay. But he wasn't sure of that himself. Eleanor had looked so pale, so fragile when she fainted, and he hadn't noticed anything. He hadn't seen the darker circles under her eyes, the weight loss, how tired she always looked. Benjamin continued crying. Sebastian walked all over the waiting room. He rocked him, talked to him, but nothing worked. "He must be hungry," said a passing nurse. "Do you have his bottle?" Sebastian checked Eleanor's nappy bag and found a bottle and a tin of powdered milk, but he had no idea how to prepare the milk. "Can you help me?" he asked the nurse. She showed him how to measure the warm water, how to add the powder, how to shake the bottle. Sebastian paid attention to every detail, as if he were learning to save a life. When he gave the bottle to Benjamin, the baby calmed down immediately. "Well done, Dad," the nurse smiled. The words still sounded strange to him, but he liked it. 3 hours passed before the surgeon came out to speak with him. "The operation was successful," he said. "We found a fair amount of tissue that needed to be removed. She's stable, but she'll need several days of rest and special care. Can I see her? She's still in recovery. Better wait until tomorrow." Sebastian stayed all night at the hospital. He slept in an uncomfortable chair, with Benjamin curled up on his chest. He woke up every 2 hours to give him his bottle or change his nappy. At 6 in the morning, a nurse told him that Eleanor had woken up and he could see her. He found her connected to several monitors with a drip in her arm, but awake. "How are you?" Sebastian approached the bed with the baby. "How do you feel?" "Like I've been run over by a lorry." Eleanor tried to smile. "Did you stay here all night?" Sebastian nodded. "Someone had to look after Benjamin." Eleanor looked at him with an expression Sebastian hadn't seen in years, something akin to gratitude, but deeper. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to thank me for anything. He's my son, too." Eleanor closed her eyes, still weak from the anesthesia. "The doctor said I'll be here for several days. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of Benjamin." "Sebastian, you don't know how to—" "I'll learn," he interrupted. "I already learned how to make a bottle last night. How hard can the rest be?" For the first time since they had reconnected, Eleanor truly smiled. Sebastian hadn't slept more than 2 consecutive hours all week. Benjamin cried every night between 2 and 4 in the morning, no matter what he did. He had temporarily moved into a furnished flat near the hospital to be closer to Eleanor and visit her every day. The place was small and cold, but it had the basics: a bed, a kitchen, and a bathroom. "Good morning, champ," he whispered to Benjamin while preparing his bottle. "Did you sleep well? Because I didn't." The baby looked at him with his big, round eyes, as if he understood that his dad was learning everything on the fly. Sebastian had bought books on infant care, watched videos online, and called his sister for advice, although he was still angry with her for lying to Eleanor. "What do you mean you didn't know how to change a nappy?" his sister had yelled at him over the phone. "What world have you been living in all these years?" "A world without babies," Sebastian had replied, trying to put a nappy on Benjamin without him wriggling away. After feeding Benjamin breakfast, Sebastian showered quickly, got dressed, and headed to the hospital. Eleanor was better, but still very weak. The doctors had said she needed at least another week of hospitalization. "You look terrible," Eleanor told him when Sebastian entered the room with Benjamin in his arms. "Thanks. You also look like you've been hit by a bus." Eleanor laughed softly. "How was he last night?" "Like all babies, I suppose. Cried, ate, pooped, slept an hour, and started all over again." Sebastian sat in the chair beside the bed and handed Benjamin to Eleanor. She received him with a smile, and the baby immediately calmed down. "He's hungry again," Eleanor said. "Did you bring the bottle? Here it is." Sebastian handed it to her and watched Eleanor feed their son. There was something so natural in that gesture, so perfect, that he felt like an intruder. "What are you thinking about?" Eleanor asked. "That I don't know if I'm doing things right. Yesterday I dropped him while changing his nappy. He wasn't hurt, but—" "Sebastian, no one is born knowing how to be a dad. You learn by doing. You seem to know everything. Because I've had 2 more months of practice than you. And believe me, at first I was terrified too. Sebastian leaned back in the chair. He was exhausted. Do you know what's the strangest thing? He said. For all these years, I thought being a dad would be different. More, I don't know. Easier, more natural. And it's not? It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But also, he paused, it's also the only thing that's made sense in a long time. Eleanor looked at him attentively. Do you regret it? Regret what? That I appeared in your life? That I complicated everything? Sebastian thought about the answer. No. I regret losing the first 2 months. I regret not being there when you needed me. I regret many things, but not this. They remained silent for a while, listening to the sounds of the hospital. Machines beeping, nurses walking down the corridors, other babies crying in nearby rooms. Sebastian, Eleanor finally said, when I leave here, what's going to happen? What do you mean? To us, to this situation. We can't keep going like this forever. Sebastian knew she was right. They couldn't keep living in limbo, visiting each other in the hospital, pretending everything was normal. I don't know, he admitted. What do you want to happen? I want Benjamin to have a present dad, not one who just visits on weekends. Truly present. That's what I want too. But I don't want us to do this out of obligation. I don't want you to feel trapped. Sebastian leaned forward in the chair. Eleanor, look at me. She looked up. I don't feel trapped. I don't know how to explain it. I feel complete for the first time in years. But we are ancient history. This is different. This is about Benjamin, and about being better people than we were before. Eleanor nodded slowly. And what if it doesn't work? What if we start fighting like before? Then we'll find a way to make it work, because he needs both of us. Benjamin had finished eating and had fallen asleep in Eleanor's arms. Sebastian moved closer and gently stroked his little head. I promise you something, he whispered to the baby. You'll never again have to choose between Mom and Dad. We'll find a way to be a family. Different, but a family nonetheless. Eleanor smiled, and for the first time in days, Sebastian felt that everything was going to be all right. This is a pivotal moment in their journey. What challenges do you foresee for Sebastian and Eleanor as they build this new, unconventional family dynamic? Share your thoughts and predictions in the comments. Eleanor opened her eyes, and for a moment, she didn't know where she was. The familiar smell of disinfectant and the constant sound of machines reminded her that she was still in the hospital. Good morning, Sleeping Beauty, she heard Sebastian's voice. She turned her head and saw him sitting in his usual chair, Benjamin asleep on his chest. Sebastian had several days' growth of beard and wrinkled clothes, but he was smiling. What time is it? Eleanor asked in a hoarse voice. 10 in the morning. You slept for 12 straight hours. And Benjamin? Perfect. Last night he only woke up once. I think we're finally getting into a rhythm. Eleanor slowly sat up in bed. She felt better than in previous days, less weak. Did you stay here all night again? Sebastian nodded. The doctor said you can be discharged today if you feel well. Eleanor felt relief and anxiety at the same time. On one hand, she wanted to leave the hospital, but on the other, she didn't know what would happen once they were outside that bubble of hospital routine. Have you spoken to my sister yet? Yes, I explained the situation to her. At first, she didn't want to listen, but when I told her it was you who wanted me to be present, she calmed down a bit. What exactly did you tell her? That I'm Benjamin's dad, and I'm going to be present in his life. That you can stay at my flat while you decide what to do. Eleanor looked at him, surprised. Sebastian, I can't. Why not? Because it's your place. Because we're barely learning to get along. Because you're scared." Sebastian interrupted her gently. Eleanor didn't respond, but she knew he was right. "Look," Sebastian moved closer to the bed. "I'm not asking you to go back to what we were before. I'm asking you to let me be the dad Benjamin deserves, and for that, I need you nearby. And if it doesn't work, then we'll find another solution. But at least we try." Benjamin woke up and started making soft noises. Sebastian handed him to Eleanor, and she received him, feeling that instant connection only a mother can understand. "Hello, my love," she whispered to the baby. "How's my prince?" Sebastian looked at them with an expression Eleanor hadn't seen before. Tenderness, admiration, something akin to love, but different from what they had shared when they were married. "You know what I've been thinking about these past few days?" Sebastian said. "What? That maybe everything happened this way for a reason. Maybe we needed to separate, to truly find each other." Eleanor looked up from Benjamin. "What do you mean? That when we were married, I was, I don't know, very controlling, very cold. I thought I had to have everything figured out, all the answers. You were very demanding of yourself, and of me too. Yes, and when we couldn't have children, I felt like a failure, and instead of supporting you, I blamed you. I pushed you away." Eleanor felt a knot form in her throat. "We both said horrible things, but I started. I was the one who decided that if we couldn't have the perfect family I had planned, then it wasn't worth trying." Sebastian ran his hands through his hair. "These past few days taking care of Benjamin have taught me something. That parenthood isn't about control. It's about being present, about accepting that you don't know anything, and learning as you go. Eleanor, let me finish. I want you to know that if you decide to give me this chance, it won't be the same Sebastian as before. That man no longer exists." Eleanor looked at him for a long time. She saw tiredness in his eyes, but also something else, a softness she didn't remember seeing before. "All right," she finally said. "All right, what? We'll come with you, but with conditions." Sebastian nodded. "Whatever you want. First, this is temporary, until I can find my own place." "Agreed. Second, no trying to be a couple again. We're Benjamin's parents, full stop." "Understood. Third, if at any point I feel this isn't working, I'm leaving. No arguments, no slamming doors, no disappearing." "Of course." Eleanor took a deep breath. "And fourth, I want us to go slowly. I don't want Benjamin to get confused if things don't work out." Sebastian smiled. "Eleanor, all I want is the chance to get to know my son and to show you I can be a good dad. Everything else, we'll see." Just then, the doctor entered. "Good morning. How are you feeling today, Mrs. Vance?" "Much better." "Perfect. If everything looks good in this morning's tests, you can go home this afternoon." Eleanor looked at Sebastian and then at Benjamin. "Yes," she said. "I'm ready to go home." Eleanor woke up in a bed that wasn't hers, in a room that smelled of detergent and freshly brewed coffee. For a moment she felt lost, until she heard Sebastian's voice softly talking to Benjamin in the kitchen. "Good morning, champ. Are you hungry? Dad's got your bottle ready." 5 days had passed since Eleanor left the hospital. Sebastian had insisted that she take the main bedroom, while he slept on the living room sofa. Eleanor got up slowly, still feeling weak, and walked towards the kitchen. Sebastian was sitting at the table, feeding Benjamin his bottle with one hand, while checking his phone with the other. "Good morning," Eleanor said. "Morning. Did you sleep well?" "Yes." "Did he wake up last night?" "Once at 3, but he went back to sleep quickly." Eleanor poured herself a cup of coffee and sat opposite Sebastian. She had grown accustomed to these quiet mornings, to seeing Sebastian care for Benjamin with a naturalness that surprised her. "Do you have to work today?" she asked. "Only a few hours this afternoon. My partner's covering most of my cases." Sebastian had his own law firm. Eleanor remembered how he used to work late, even on weekends. Seeing how he had reorganized his whole life for Benjamin gave her a mixture of gratitude and confusion. "You don't have to do this, you know," Eleanor said. "Do what? Change your whole life? Miss work? Sleep on the sofa?" Sebastian put down his phone and looked at her. "Eleanor, I have a son. My life has already changed forever, and I like how it's changing." Benjamin finished his bottle and Sebastian put him on his shoulder to burp him. "Besides," he continued, "I'm not missing work. I'm working from home when Benjamin sleeps, and the sofa is comfortable. But there are no buts. This is what I want to do." Eleanor took a sip of coffee. She still found it hard to believe that this calm, attentive man was the same Sebastian who used to shout when things didn't go his way. "What are you thinking about?" Sebastian asked, noticing her silence. "How different you are." "Different how?" "Before, when something didn't go according to your plans, you'd get furious. You'd shut down. You'd pull away. Now, I don't know, you seem calmer." Sebastian smiled as he gently tickled Benjamin's tummy. "It's just that now I understand something I didn't before. That you can't control everything. And that's okay. Benjamin wakes me up when he wants, cries when he needs something, falls asleep when he feels like it. And I adapt. I don't try to change him." Eleanor felt something strange in her chest, something akin to hope, but she dared not name it. "Before, it drove me mad that we couldn't have children," Sebastian continued. "I felt it was my responsibility to fix everything, to find the perfect solution. And when I couldn't find it, I got frustrated with you, with myself, with the world. You got frustrated with me because you couldn't get pregnant. Yes, and that was wrong. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't anyone's fault." Sebastian got up and put Benjamin in his car seat. "You know what I realized while taking care of Benjamin?" "What?" "That love isn't about trying to fix everything. It's about being present when things break." Eleanor felt her eyes fill with tears. "Sebastian, I'm not saying this for us to get back together," she quickly clarified. "I just want you to know that I understand why our marriage didn't work, and that if one day you decide to give me another chance, not as a husband, but as, I don't know, a partner in this parenting thing, it will be different." Eleanor wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Are you scared of me?" she said. "Why?" "Because I'm starting to believe you, and I don't want to get my hopes up again just to be hurt." Sebastian approached and knelt beside her chair. "Eleanor, look at me." She looked up. "I'm not going to promise we'll never fight again. I'm not going to promise I'll be perfect. But I do promise I will never disappear again when things get difficult. Benjamin needs me, and you do too." "I don't need you," Eleanor said, but without conviction. "Maybe you don't need me as a husband, but you do need me as your son's dad, and I need you to trust me to be able to do that well." Eleanor looked at him for a long time. Sebastian had dark circles, wrinkled clothes, and a 2-day beard. But he also had something in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Peace, determination, something akin to maturity. "All right," she finally said. "All right, what?" "I'm going to try to trust you again, but slowly, very slowly." Sebastian smiled and took her hand. "Slowly is perfect. We have all the time in the world." Benjamin started making soft noises from his car seat, as if agreeing with the conversation. "See?" Sebastian said. "Even Benjamin approves of the plan." For the first time in a long time, Eleanor truly laughed. This is a beautiful moment of renewed hope. How do you think Sebastian and Eleanor will navigate their unconventional family dynamic moving forward? What is one quality you value most in a partner or co-parent? Tell us in the comments. 3 months had passed since Eleanor and Benjamin temporarily moved in with Sebastian. What had started as an emergency solution had become a comfortable and natural routine. Eleanor no longer slept in the main bedroom. After many discussions, they had decided that she would stay in the converted study, while Sebastian remained on the sofa. Benjamin had his cot in the hallway, between their two rooms. That night, Eleanor woke up because she didn't hear Benjamin crying. It was 2 a.m, and it was unusual for him not to have woken up asking for food. She got up worried and walked towards the cot. It was empty. She heard soft voices coming from the living room and walked towards it. Sebastian was sitting on the sofa, Benjamin awake in his arms, speaking to him in a low voice. "Your mom is very brave, you know," Sebastian was telling the baby. "Braver than Daddy. She looked after you all by herself for 2 months, and I didn't even know you existed." Eleanor stayed hidden behind the wall, listening. "Daddy was very foolish before," Sebastian continued. "He thought he knew everything, but he knew nothing. He didn't know how to love properly. He didn't know how to take care of Mom when she needed him." Benjamin made soft noises as if he understood. "But now Daddy's learning. I'm learning that love isn't about trying to change people. It's about accepting them as they are and being there when they need you." Eleanor felt her chest tighten. "And Mom is the strongest person I know. That's why Daddy fell in love with her many years ago, and that's why he's still in love, even if she doesn't know it." Eleanor held her breath. "But don't worry, champ. Daddy isn't going to pressure Mom. He's going to wait. He's going to show her with actions that he's changed, because words are carried away by the wind, but actions last forever." Sebastian was silent for a while, gently rocking Benjamin. "You know what's the craziest thing about all this?" He continued talking. "That it took me all these months to realize that I already have everything I ever wanted. A family. Not the perfect family I had imagined, but a real family. With problems, with fears, but real." Eleanor felt tears in her eyes. "Mom is scared that Daddy will hurt her again, and she's right to be scared. Daddy hurt her a lot before, but now Daddy knows that love isn't a competition you win or lose. It's a daily job. It's getting up every night when you cry. It's making coffee in the mornings. It's being present." Sebastian got up from the sofa and walked to the window with Benjamin. "Look, it's raining," he told the baby. "Mom likes the rain. Before, when we were married, she would spend hours watching the rain from the kitchen window. Daddy never understood why, but now I think I do. The rain washes everything clean. It makes everything start anew." Eleanor couldn't stay hidden any longer. She stepped out from behind the wall. "Since when do you talk so much?" she asked softly. Sebastian turned, startled. "Eleanor, I didn't know you were awake. I woke up because I didn't hear Benjamin crying. I thought something had happened. He woke up an hour ago, but he was calm. He just wanted company." Eleanor walked over to them. "How much did you hear?" Sebastian asked. A little embarrassed. "Enough." They stood in silence, looking at each other. Benjamin yawned in Sebastian's arms. "Is it true?" Eleanor asked. "What you told him? Which part? All of it? That you're still in love? That this is all you ever wanted?" Sebastian looked her straight in the eyes. Every word. Eleanor felt the air leave her lungs. "Sebastian, you don't have to say anything," she interrupted. "I just wanted you to know, not to pressure you, but to be honest." Eleanor moved closer, so close she could feel the warmth of his body. "You know what's the craziest thing?" Eleanor said. "What?" "That I'm still in love too, and that terrifies me." Sebastian closed his eyes for a moment. "Eleanor, these past few months, watching you care for Benjamin, how you care for me, how you've become this man so present. It's as if you're the person I always hoped you'd be. I'm the person I always wanted to be. I just needed a reason to change." Eleanor held out her arms and took Benjamin. The baby had fallen asleep. I'm going to put him down, she said. When she returned from the hallway, Sebastian was still standing in the same spot. Sebastian, Eleanor said. Yes. Can you hug me? He didn't hesitate for a second. He hugged her tightly, as if he had been waiting years for that moment. I love you, Sebastian whispered in her ear. I never stopped loving you. I love you too, Eleanor replied, and that scares me a lot. Me too, but I think it's worth the risk. They remained embraced under the rain that hit the window, feeling as if they were starting something completely new. 6 months later. 6 months after that night in the rain, Sebastian woke to the familiar sound of Benjamin babbling in his cot. He no longer cried so much in the early hours. Now he woke up making soft noises, as if he were conversing with someone invisible. Sebastian got up from the sofa and walked to the hallway. Eleanor was already there, holding Benjamin and whispering things in his ear. Good morning, Sebastian said, approaching to kiss Eleanor on the cheek and Benjamin on the forehead. Morning. Did you sleep well on that sofa? Like a king. It was a lie. The sofa was uncomfortable, and Sebastian already had back pain, but he didn't complain. It had been his decision to keep sleeping there, although Eleanor had suggested several times that they buy a larger bed to share. Sebastian, Eleanor said, while changing Benjamin's nappy. We need to talk about something. Tell me. My sister called me yesterday. They want to sell the annex where I'm renting a room. I have to look for another place. Sebastian felt a knot in his stomach. During all these months, he had avoided thinking about the moment Eleanor and Benjamin would leave. He had grown so accustomed to waking up and seeing them there, to preparing breakfast for 3, to their shared routines. Do you know where you'll look? He asked, trying to sound casual. That's the problem. With my part-time salary, I can't afford a decent flat in a safe neighborhood, and Benjamin needs space for when he starts crawling. Sebastian finished preparing coffee while Eleanor fed the baby. Eleanor, Sebastian finally said, I have a proposal. What is it? Stay here, permanently. Eleanor looked up from Benjamin. Sebastian, we've talked about this, not as a favor, not as something temporary, but as family. What do you mean? Sebastian sat opposite her at the kitchen table. I mean, let's find a bigger house. For the 3 of us. Where Benjamin has his own room. Where you have your space. Where I can stop sleeping on the sofa. Eleanor didn't respond immediately. But we aren't dating? Married? Sebastian smiled. We don't need labels, Eleanor. We are a family. Different, but a family. Benjamin needs both of us, and honestly, I need you too. Eleanor, listen to me. I'm not asking us to go back to what we were before. I'm asking us to build something new, something better. Eleanor looked at Benjamin, who had fallen asleep after eating. And what if it doesn't work? What if we start fighting like before? Then we face the problems together, as adults, as responsible parents. Eleanor thought for several minutes. What kind of house? Sebastian smiled, understanding that the question meant she was considering the proposal. One with a garden, so Benjamin can play when he grows up. With a large kitchen where we can cook together. With 3 bedrooms. One for you. For him, one for me. Separate rooms? For now, yes. No pressure. Let's take it step by step. Eleanor stood up and walked to the window, still with Benjamin asleep in her arms. You know what scares me the most? She said without turning around. What? That I like the idea. I like it a lot. And that scares me because it means I really trust you again. Sebastian moved closer and stood behind her. And is that bad? No, but it's terrifying. For me too. But I think it's worth the risk. Eleanor turned to look at him. Do you really think we can do this? Be a family without being a couple? I think we can try. And if along the way we realize we want something more, it will be because we truly want it. Not out of obligation or for Benjamin. Eleanor nodded slowly. All right, let's look for a house. Sebastian felt such great joy that he thought his heart would burst out of his chest. Really? Really. But with conditions. Whatever you want. First, we share all expenses equally. I don't want you to feel like you're supporting me. Agreed. Second, important decisions about Benjamin we make together. Of course. And third, if either of us feels this isn't working, we talk. No shouting, no slamming doors, no disappearing. Sebastian held out his hand. Deal. Eleanor shook it. Deal. That afternoon, they went to see houses. Sebastian drove while Eleanor checked the classified ads on her phone, and Benjamin asleep in his car seat. Look at this one, Eleanor said. 3 bedrooms, garden, near the school and the hospital, and it's within our budget. Our budget? Sebastian smiled. I like the sound of that. Eleanor smiled too. Me too. For the first time in years, Sebastian felt that the future wasn't scary. It was full of hope. 1 year later. Sunday dawned sunny, and Eleanor woke to the sound of laughter coming from the garden. She peeked out her bedroom window and saw Sebastian running after Benjamin, who, now 14 months old, was crawling everywhere. Daddy, Daddy! Benjamin shouted, crawling towards Sebastian's arms. Eleanor smiled. Benjamin's first words had been Mummy, but Daddy had followed shortly after. Sebastian had cried that day, unashamedly, like a child. She put on a dressing gown and went down to the kitchen. The house they had chosen was perfect, not too big, but comfortable, with a garden where Benjamin could play and a spacious kitchen where the 3 of them had breakfast every morning. Good morning, Sleeping Beauty, Sebastian said when she entered the garden. Morning. How long have you 2 been awake? Since 7. Someone decided that Sundays also require early starts. Benjamin crawled to Eleanor and hugged her legs. Mommy, Mommy, he shouted, raising his arms for her to pick him up. Eleanor lifted him and kissed his cheeks. How's my prince? Were you good with Daddy? Very good, Sebastian replied. He only ate a handful of dirt and tried to escape 3 times. Eleanor laughed. A normal day then. Sebastian had prepared breakfast for the 3 of them. Scrambled eggs, toast, and freshly squeezed orange juice. It was a routine they had developed naturally. He cooked on Sundays, she the rest of the week. What do you want to do today? Sebastian asked, while cutting Benjamin's toast into small pieces. We could go to the park. We haven't taken Benjamin to the swings in ages. Good idea. As they ate breakfast, Eleanor observed the scene. Sebastian helping Benjamin eat, wiping his face when he got messy, talking to him with infinite patience. Benjamin laughing and saying half words that only they understood. It was strange to think that 2 years ago they were divorced and not speaking. Now she couldn't imagine her life without these mornings, without these routines, without this family they had built from scratch. What are you thinking about? Sebastian asked, noticing her silence. How strange this all is. Strange how? Good strange. 2 years ago I thought I'd never be able to trust you again. And now? Now what? Now I can't imagine my life without you. Sebastian stopped eating and looked at her. Eleanor, I'm not saying I want to get married again, he quickly clarified. I'm just saying that this, what we have now, is perfect for me. Sebastian smiled. For me too. Really? Don't you miss having a girlfriend, going out, being single? Are you mad? Exchange this for going out? Sebastian got up and walked over to her. Eleanor, these have been the best months of my life. Not the best month since the divorce, the best of my entire life. But we aren't a couple? Dating? We don't need to be anything specific. We're Sebastian, Eleanor, and Benjamin. We're family. Eleanor felt something warm in her chest. I like the sound of that. Yeah, me too. Benjamin started banging on the table with his spoon, demanding attention. Park! Park! He shouted. "We're going, impatient one," Eleanor said, wiping his face. An hour later, they were at the park. Sebastian pushed Benjamin on the swing while Eleanor took photos with her phone. "Higher, Dad," Benjamin shouted, laughing. "Higher, are you sure?" "Yes, higher." Eleanor watched them from the bench where she was sitting. Sebastian had changed so much since he became Benjamin's dad. He was more patient, more present, more affectionate, as if fatherhood had brought out the best in him. After the park, they went for lunch at a family restaurant. Benjamin behaved well, ate almost all his lunch, and only threw food on the floor twice. "Total success," Sebastian said, as he cleaned under Benjamin's chair. On the way home, Benjamin fell asleep in the car. "I'll take him to his cot," Sebastian whispered when they arrived. Eleanor stayed in the kitchen preparing tea. When Sebastian came down, he sat opposite her. "Eleanor," he said, "there's something I want to ask you." "What? Are you happy?" Eleanor didn't expect that question. "Why do you ask me that?" "Because I want to make sure this is what you really want. I don't want you to feel trapped or to think you have to stay for Benjamin." Eleanor took a sip of tea before answering. "Sebastian, 2 years ago I thought happiness was something I had lost forever. I thought that after everything we went through, I would never truly be happy again. And now she woke up every morning grateful for Benjamin, for him, for this house, for this life they built together." Eleanor reached out and touched Sebastian's hand. "I'm happy, happier than I thought was possible." Sebastian smiled and intertwined his fingers with hers. "Me too." They stayed like that, holding hands, listening to the sounds of the house. The kitchen clock, the refrigerator, Benjamin's soft sighs as he slept upstairs. They weren't the perfect family they had imagined years ago. They were something better. They were real. Were you moved by this story of love, loss, and redemption? Sebastian and Eleanor showed us that sometimes second chances come when we least expect them, and that true love doesn't always follow the path we planned. Their story with Benjamin teaches us that families are built day by day with patience, understanding, and the courage to forgive. If this story touched your heart as much as it touched ours, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone you think needs to hear that it's always possible to start anew. We'd love to hear your opinion on this story of Sebastian, Eleanor, and little Benjamin. Do you think they did the right thing by trying to build a family without becoming a couple again? Did you identify with any of the characters? Leave us your comments here below. Each one of them is very valuable to us. If you enjoyed this content and want to keep hearing stories that touch the soul, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories. And tell us, from what country are you watching us? We love knowing that our stories reach hearts all over the world.